We got Gators breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Here we are back again with my good buddy Sponge. Andrew Franklin joining us right here, breaking it down, right here on Gators Breakdown. Joined us a couple of weeks ago. First live show, Sponge. We're going live right now.
Let's go live, baby. Let's do it. We live. We live.
We are live. We are live. The day after, DJ Lagway returns to the field. Florida has a open practice, and I mean, it is an open practice, but
right.
as part of credentialed media, I can't say anything that happened after the open portion. You know, I know fans were in attendance, and some fans have shared their thoughts. They've shared them on Gators Breakdown Plus Discord. They've shared them on Twitter. They've shared them on other message boards. So you can find what happened after the stuff that we'll talk about. But the big story, and we'll get into it. So, hey, we're going to get into a lot on this episode. Lagway is back. Devin Moore, George Gumbs, they talked to the media last Thursday. Florida had some issues on their end, so we'll just kind of read what they had to say. That they're not able to put that video out. And then, of course, Zach Alberverdi with a big report saying, hey, these true freshmen, Jaden Woods, Dallas Wilson, they working with the first team a little bit. So, hey, we got a lot of newsy items so far in first week of camp.
Yeah, like I say, that you can almost smell the grass a little bit. You know, that good deal. You know, football's all across the board. We had, obviously NFL getting cranked up. You had high school getting cranked up. You know, we were ready for Gator camp. That got cranked up. So everybody is playing football right now, strapping it on, pads. Let's, get it clacking. Like, it's that time of year. It's crazy to think in a couple of weeks we're going to be in the swamp. You know what I'm saying? So it's wild how quick it will go. Hey,
you're right about that. It's as you mentioned, we had the Hall of Fame game on Thursday night. We're not a pro show, but here's the thing: it is football from here till February.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. Like, we had our last little bit of vacations we had going on, so we both been a little busy with being out of town here, but now it's kind of full go. We're ready to rock and roll. Like, football, like you say, is here until February.
Well, there we go. So everybody hit that like button. That really, really helps us out right here on Gators Breakdown. Leave some comments. I see the comment section live going. So leave them in the replay as well if you catch us on the replay. And subscribe right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform if you haven't done so yet. So reminder, as I said, it will be somewhat limited. I know other podcasts and stuff, if they're not credentialed, they can go into a lot more detail than I'll be able to here. I don't want the credentials revoked with the season coming up. So, but everything that happened outside of the open portion of practice, can't really say much. What happened on the 7 on the 7 and 11 on 11, that's a no-go. Like I said, there's some notes out there. You can find them. But the big story, Sponge, of course, DJ Lagway hitting the field. And look, I was kind of hoping it would happen on this Saturday because, look, we knew for the first time the media was going to have an open portion of practice. We knew Florida Victorious members were going to be in attendance. So with all the storylines, it was nice to see number 2 on the field. Of course, missed the start of fall camp, dealing with that well-chronicled calf injury for about a week. But there he was Saturday, tossing it around during the open portion of open practice. After all the speculation and the rumors all week, number 2 was out there. So, it's a big move, that this is the first time that the masses has seen Lagway throw a ball since last season's Gasparilla Bowl. It's It's the last time. That's the last time we've seen it.
It's been a minute.
It really has been.
Like I say, we talked when we broke out with the whole, Lagway's in a boot. He's got a calf issue. We're like, I'm just sitting there thinking, all right. And then, more and more news broke about it. So then everybody's like speculating, okay, like how bad is this thing? Is it a grade 1 sprain, like contusion? You're like, okay, how do you get a contusion running? So you're like, that's got to be some, then you correlate calf with Achilles, all that stuff. So you're just like, all right, you're in freak out mode. You're in like not panic mode, but then you're like, okay, all right, wait a second now. So, I'm listening to doctors break down like grades of calf, so you're like trying to get a timeline of, okay, are we going to see DJ? Is he going to be out for a week or two? Then we're like breaking down, like, is he going to be out for a game or two? We're talking like, is his first rep going to be against LSU on the road? So like all that, thank goodness, put to bed. My man's out there slinging it, on Saturday. And, of course, they're going to be monitoring it. They're going to take precautions with everything. You just got like, because again, that calf strain, is a calf is always, tied to that Achilles, and that's always one of the scariest injuries that you can have. So definitely have them out there throwing, look good. And like I say, dude, I love this receiving core, man.
Yeah, well, we'll get into a little bit of talk there too,
sure,
this receiving core. But as you can see, I've throw up some highlights right here through through all the Gator media that was there. And of course, you see some deep passes to Trey Wilson. We'll get into all that too. But hey, look, some intermediate stuff too, where we know Lagway's got to take his next steps and all that. Hey, look, we know the deep ball's going to be there. We know that. Yeah. But you see here, I'm working on the intermediate too. I'll let this play out through here. Sponge, I want to go back to something you just said. I would have loved to go back, and I think there is a way to look this up, but it might be too far past the time now. Right. If we go back to last Monday, Tuesday, all that, when all this talk, like from the state of Florida in the Google Analytics, how many people were searching for calf injuries?
Oh yeah, I guarantee you that. Yeah, those numbers were going off the chain. I guarantee it, from Gator fans to even opposing fans. Like, hey, is this guy going to be out? Is he hurt? So it's like, it's one of those things where you just don't know. And like I say, if you're not a doctor who's in there, one of the team trainers who's dealing with them in the know, like where you're physically there, you're kind of just, it's all speculation until you can actually see for yourself, like, okay, he's out there tossing it, he's out there moving, so I think in a sense it was more so precautionary than anything else. And that's a good thing. Let's keep these guys healthy, let's keep these guys upright, let's keep them playing, so they're going to keep an eye on it, they're going to monitor it, so I'm feeling good about what we're seeing, obviously. So that's the only thing you can take from it is, hey, Tu's out there throwing it.
Yeah, so as you can see in these highlights, he's got a compression sleeve on his left leg. So another thing I kind of notice, if it is the calf in here, it's not his plant leg. So that might be important down the road or anything like that. But as we see here, this is the team drills period. So he's throwing the tight ends and wide receivers. And, of course, that best one being that downfield dime to Trey Wilson. Now, look, this, of course, is just quarterback and wide receiver work. Not too intense, but look. Because of all the speculation that was out there, because of the injuries and maybe injuries piling up, so getting to see anything is considered progress. This is considered progress. Him being on the field, nice to see, of course. Still a long way to go to get fully caught up, but look really crisp in the portion where he's completing passes at all levels. Didn't seem like there was any holding back of throwing power. You see that deep pass to Trey Wilson. The ball was where it needed to be. So hopefully, this is the first step that this fall camp, and we're ready to move forward. And there's hopefully moving forward, there's very little talk of Lagway being injured. Now, look, it's always going to hang in our heads till we see he's out there playing games. But, look, step one had to happen first. Him just being out there throwing the ball had to happen first. We got our check mark there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, too, the thing I was almost concerned with or wondering, because I hadn't looked into it, is this the same leg that he pulled the hamstring on against Georgia, which it's not. Right? It was his right hamstring, his plant leg and all that, back when he did that against UGA last year. So then I was like, okay, was it the same leg? Was it the same, it's because then you're like, all right, well, that's two injuries kind of on the lower body where the hamstring comes down to the calf to the Achilles. So you're like, okay, is this a problem? And, obviously being a different leg, whatever. And now, again, they're taking precautionary measures, with the whole previous week and the timeline of when it actually took place and all that, to where they feel obviously comfortable enough to let him come out and throw. And I know he's been working all offseason. I know he works with JP Tillman out in Texas, and he's one of the best QB trainers in the country. He runs Texas, but he's been working with him all offseason. He gets good work, throwing the football. He's got all those mechanics. We know what he can do. It's just a matter of he just hasn't been out there doing it with those guys, in a full capacity, which now basically it's football time. So now you're going to be out there. So now, just got to keep you out there as much as you can. And, I was wondering even too, if that, he just didn't want to go with the one sleeve, swag, does he need that? So that's, it looks sweet. You know what I'm saying? So, he's got the compression on the one leg, no double tights.
it's funny too. Oh man, where was I going to go with this? Probably something we should bring up too. Now, I think the team had already had 3 practices, so there's still an acclimation period for him. And there was some thought, there were some reports. Maybe he did a little bit of throwing on Friday.
Right.
Zach Alberti had reported that he had maybe done some throwing on Friday before practice. But
he was an indoor.
But I think this was the 4th practice, if I'm not mistaken. So there's still an acclimation period for DJ Lagway compared to everybody else.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I say, that's one of those things of, those first couple of days is always kind of just, basic stuff. You're not really diving into anything. You're just kind of getting your feet, get your feet under you before you get in full gear and start, hitting and all that stuff. So it's just, going through the motions a little bit, just getting everybody get their sea legs under you, and they'll start installing stuff and working more towards higher end things, which is where you want them to be there now. So missing the first couple of days, kind of really no big deal. And we kind of talked about that even last week, and we're like, okay, what is the timeline? How long will he be out? And it was good that he was only out a few days. So it's good that he's back out there. And like I say, now it's just full steam ahead. Now you knock on wood, you hope everybody stays healthy and gets through camp. Everybody's going to have injuries. Everybody gets banged up, across all sports or levels, high school, college, and pro. Guys are going to get banged up in camp. It just happens.
Yep. So, hey, let's go to the other side of that. We'll stick to the injuries. That's about it. We'll have for Lagway. Of course, it's been talked about ad nauseum with the injuries.
Sure.
The good news is he's on the bill.
He's back.
He's back. The return of 2, and let's go. Hopefully we were moving past it, and that'll be it. Let's go the other way with injury sponge. Several key players returning to full participation for the Gators. In the open portion, you could see the defensive line get some guys back. Caleb Banks, full participation. Jamari Lyons, full participation. So, foot ankle for Caleb Banks, ankle injury from Jamari Lyons dating back to last year. And then the secondary, and we hit on this last week, Will and I did, because Billy Napier made sure to point it out, and just the amazing to see Aaron Gates out there.
Yeah.
and returning so fast with his knee injury. And Bryce Thornton out there as well. So up front for the defense, get some key guys back. In the secondary part to get some key guys back. So all 4 clear for full contact. They're ditching the non-contact jerseys. So big-time news there. But big-time news for Aaron Gates. Just one more time. Napier told us last week that he's ready to go. And we got to see it with our own eyes in this open portion of practice on Saturday. And almost out there like nothing had happened. Injured in November, and he's out there with no brace, nothing on the injured leg. You wouldn't even be able to tell if you didn't know he got hurt. So, cool. Full credit to him for, all the work. It's not an easy rehab, getting those knee injuries like that, and to be back so fast, or it doesn't look like it even happened. Credit to him for putting that work in. But some key guys up front, some key guys in the secondary returning for that full for that open practice.
Yeah, no, it's big time when you get guys, back who've been out, and obviously offseason's a grind. You're trying to rehab. Rehab's a tough thing, like I say. So he busted his tail, obviously, not only, just, with the trainers, with the training staff, getting all that stuff, that's one of the things that guys hate, man. You hate going to that training room early in the morning, multiple times a day. They're working you. You're having to rehab, you're doing all that tough stuff, and you're not able to actually play the game yet. So to go through, rehab and all that offseason stuff just to get here finally, you got to be feeling good. And and nothing's better to see 13 back there in that secondary, because he was playing ball, dude. And that was a tough injury last year.
Yeah, I think he had made a play early in that Ole Miss game as well, and then gets gets injured.
Yeah.
But certainly, a playmaker there, a physical presence. That Florida that has, and Sharif Denson as well. From the 904. Florida's got 2 dogs, dude, guys that are not afraid of contact.
What's crazy is I was literally thinking about this today, and it's like Sharif sometimes is like the not talked about guy, and he's been kind of that guy. He's a quiet, but like he makes plays. You know what I'm saying? He's always been that way. And so it's just, again, what I want to allude to is watching and seeing everything. We actually got depth now, man. And like we've in a lot of positions where we kind of might have been like, okay, we got this. Maybe we don't have a guy behind this guy. If he get like our depth is getting quality now. and it's, so the quantity is catching up with the quality to where you got guys who are going to be playmakers. And then if a guy goes down or a guy needs a spell, this guy comes in, plug and play. Like we're starting to get that on this roster, which is, I think, a credit to Billy and the recruiting, a credit to the portal, a credit to this, transition, attrition, all that. And like, I feel like this definitely by far is one of the better rosters. And when you look at guys like Gates and Sharif, kind of like guys that aren't talked about, like, Devin Moores and the Kermanis and the Dijons. So it's like you add all those layers and levels, and that makes your team. That's what gives us this optimism that we got, because we got guys that can kind of like there's no break. This guy comes in, he's good. This guy comes in, he's good. So that's what you want to see. And that's what I think we're all excited about.
Yeah. I think for a guy like Denson, it's like there's probably not going to be too many wow plays.
Right.
But there's not going to be too many "what are you doing" type of plays.
Right.
He's just a steady
consistent.
presence.
That's really and truly what is. If you can get consistency at all your play, like how much have we been talking about that at the quarterback spot for the last?
Exactly. Especially anybody in the secondary. If you're not giving up a 40-yard bomb, I'm happy.
Right.
You're doing
Exactly.
something. But anyway, look, we've seen too many guys that are just afraid of contact. Like, that nickel spot. I mean, you've got to be able to want to hit a running back. You've got to be able to play close to the line of scrimmage. Yeah,
for sure. You got to be able to be in that box to tackle those backs. So it's like, this obviously we talk about how physical the SEC is. You got to have guys who want to tackle. And like I say, those are two guys who will come up and tackle, and they also can cover really well. So they got, both aspects of, being a good nickel guy, being that good star player, being that guy that can, come up and tackle in the run game, come up and support in the run game, but also be able to cover, dudes in the, going out for, your tight ends, your slot receivers and all that. So like Gates and Denson, definitely having Gates back with Sharif, like I say, it's nothing better than having a full clip, coming into the season.
Let's go to the other side. The secondary, maybe a setback here. Dijon Johnson, who missed, was very limited in spring. He was not taking part in practice on Saturday. Apparently had an injury on Friday. He was in a non-contact jersey. Kind of we'll have to follow another storyline here, but the thought was a battle between Dijon Johnson, the incumbent starter, and Cormani McClain.
Right.
So McClain needed to take advantage again. Took advantage in the springtime, stepped in. Now he's working with the first team defense again alongside Devin Moore. McClain, who the offseason storylines there, taking care of what he needs to take care of. He impressed during spring practice as well with a lot more playing time, and now maybe has another case here to strengthen his position as with this competition. But if Johnson can't be on the field, Cormani McClain's getting a lot more reps. Let's go back to last Thursday. Devin Moore was asked about Cormani McClain. He said, quote, "He's definitely taking his game to the next level. These things behind doors that sometimes I don't see, sometimes other teammates and other staff members don't see, but just one-on-one with coach going over all the little things. We all do that. How can we take our game to the next level to be that lockdown defense that we have the potential to be?" He definitely started doing a lot of those things and taking them to the next level. It shows up on the field, him making plays. So if Dijon's going to be missing some more time, there we go. We're going to have to, a lot of people have, look, I remember last week I posted the picture. It was Dijon and Cormani McClain beside each other from the first day of camp. And I said, hey, this is going to be a fun battle in camp. And some people already shoved it away. Oh, I got to see Cormani tackle better. I got to see Cormani do this. I got to see Cormani do that. Okay, I agree. Me too. But if you take a lot of the reports and a lot of the intel coming out of camp, it's, hey, Cormani McClain has turned a corner. Yes, we do have to see it. But it really is a legit battle when Dijon Johnson's healthy of who's going to line up opposite Devin Moore.
Yeah, no, totally. And like we talked about that on the kind of make it or break it, when we talked a couple weeks ago. And like I say, that's again the other corner, the number one guy, Devin Moore. He was the main guy we were talking about because he's been off the field so much due to injury. So again, availability, the best ability. So if you can't compete, then there's no competition. It's now it's who's the next guy behind Cormani that's going to take that step up to be the backup until Dijon is back in the lineup, back healthy, back on the field. So, this is where Money needs to take his advantage of, hey, it's your spot now. Don't lose it. Or, that's basically what happens when injury comes, you never want to lose your job to injury. But again, if you're hot and you're balling, you're staying. It's hard to take you off the field. So now it's going to be like, who are these next guys down the pipe, that are going to be like, we're going to have to find out about, which we're going to have to find out about these guys anyways. When it comes to, camp, fall camp, you're trying to find your depth. You're trying to find some of these young guys, like what's Ben Hanks looking like out there. Some of these other guys they're going to have to get in the lineup and see them take live fire, see who can count on, who can cover, who can't, who can tackle, who can't. Like scrimmages and all that. The eye in the sky don't lie. We're going to find out who can play and who can't.
For sure. Hey, we'll come back to the secondary right quick, but the comment section going pretty good right here. Double Gator. Hey, you never know where the show's going to take us because of the comments, but here we go. He says, I am concerned about the numbers and lack of size at defensive tackle. Thoughts, gentlemen? Certainly has been an off-season topic we've discussed plenty. So we'll double to it again. Harrison Sanchez chimed in. Agreed, double. Just practice, but reports where Lions was getting pushed around. We need a big comeback year from him. And then, hey, Brandon Connell in here. Thanks for joining in, Brandon. He goes, Bet looked good at defensive tackle on the practice Saturday. Hey, Florida, just in case you're watching, these are user comments. These are not mine. But, yeah, I mean, you like what you got. I mean, I think obviously we're probably going more nose tackle being the concern instead of defensive tackle because of that size you need. Right. But, Caleb Banks and look, Jamari Lyons, I mean, granted, I'd love to hear out of one open part that he did better, but I'm not going to make too much out of one practice, especially going back a year ago, hearing how good he was supposed to be before he got hurt. But the worry is, I guess, if he doesn't look what maybe he looked like this time a year ago, is he still favoring the injury? Is the injury still in his head? Is he going to be able to recover from the injury? I like those front two, but then Brian Taylor got moved more inside. Florida's going to rely on him. Brendan Beck, the transfer from Baylor, as Brandon puts in, that he may be more of a force. Makai Burwell was a freshman who played a good bit last year. I know from intel and reports, like I said, the staff is really like Joseph Mbachu so far. The true freshman. Right. Now I know it's a true freshman, so make of it what you will. And that in that position, I know how hard it'd be for a true freshman. But we're only looking for depth here. I think you got a 1 and a 2 that especially your ones.
Your ones are good.
I think you'll like your ones. Yeah, probably. How much do the twos have to play? How much do you have to rely on the twos? But if there's injuries or anything like that, for sure, we're going to have some more of these names pop up.
No, for sure. And like I say, I like you said, I feel like the front part is good. But again, what I'm hearing too is and what I'm even, briefly seeing is they kind of even like some of the depth here. It's just we got to wait and see it. We got to let it showcase itself. And like I say, for Lions, he's just getting back, kind of getting acclimated again to banging again. He's been out, with that injury. So sure, is he favoring it? Maybe he's a little, just hesitant, because again, when you're moving with O-line and D-line, again, they're not even full go yet either, so that's the other, you can't really, that's the one thing I hate about, projections and early practice thoughts, it's just like, these guys ain't banging right now. So they're not really hitting. So it's you can't really, even the receivers and DBs, if you're doing one-on-ones, it's competitive. But when you get in pads, you can be a little more physical. The DB can, then you can really find out if these guys can really get off the jam. If they're really making one-on-one moves and getting separation. Same thing with, O-line, D-line reps. It's you can't, the O-line is, kind of at a disadvantage. So if the O-line's pushing him around, obviously that's not good in a non-padded practice, but you kind of got to wait and see until you get in that scrimmage situation when you actually get to where you're going to have to actually do some work and you can finally see it. Everybody can see it for their own eyes. And like I say, again, when they watch the film and they break down practice, you're going to see if Lyons is getting pushed around. And if he is, then he ain't the guy, or is Brian Taylor the guy, or how good is this freshman from Grayson, Georgia, 300 pounds. So like I say, so I think Mbachu could be a player. So we'll see. Like I say, it's still so early and everything's just still kind of, coming through. So you can't take too much into it yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, King Malik in here saying Tavares Brown will play too, 6'7", 290. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's names. You know, we had to point out names, but it is a position group that we have chronicled throughout the offseason. Hey, yeah, that is probably one of the biggest worries for Florida. If you stay healthy, I think you're fine.
Right.
Is it going to be excellent play? I mean, with Banks, it opens up so much for somebody in the middle right there.
Well, I even think I think they moved Sapp around again too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
you're right. Yeah.
So, you can make chess piece moves and say, all right, well, we know Sapp has been multiple and he can do kind of like a lot of things. So, when push comes to shove, if you want to put him inside and then bring in some faster edge or bring in more of a, so they can do different stuff.
Now, on third downs, you telling me you're going to move Sapp inside, which makes sense. Third down passing situations. All right, you're going to put him a little more inside. You got Gumbs. You might have LJ. You might have Jaden Woods, who we're getting to. Like we saw it last year. I might need to save that conversation, but we saw it last year in certain third down situations. Once they kind of got the defense figured out, there were times when you had Sapp, Pyburn, Gumbs, all on the field together. Like it was a pass rush specialist package.
And guess what? They're going to have to do that again. You have to. You got to mix it up and put your best guys on the field. So it's how can you, like I say, if other guys are stepping up in certain positions, we'll get into that, but then you can kind of move guys around too. So I think that's the good part about is what we'll see as the season goes on. Hopefully that depth, everyone stays healthy, knock on wood, all that good stuff. But you're going to have some injuries. Some of these guys are going to get banged up. So what you got to hope is the guys who aren't, step up and become, a playmaker for some of those guys who get injured. So I feel good about, like you say, that first, stage one on the depth chart, So then it's always, what do you have after that? What do you have as your plug and play? And then that's what you find out, as the long grinding season goes on. So,
yeah, we don't need Caleb Banks out there playing 60 snaps a game.
Yeah, right. You need, like I said, it's best when guys can spell each other, when you got that depth and, guys can rotate. Think about what we always talk about with like our hated rival, Georgia. Kirby and those guys, they recruit D linemen just to, rotate. So they all stay fresh. Everybody's rotating. So when you can get to that level, when you can say your main, 2 and 3, 4 guys are studs, and then you're kind of like spelling them for, rotational pieces that are good players, there's no drop off. And that's ultimately what you want to have, and now the question is, are some of these guys going to be that or not? So we'll all you can do is wait and find out.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's go back to secondary, as I said, and Devin Moore. And, of course, his injury history is a storyline. I've seen it here in the chat as well about Devin Moore. And something come pretty interesting, Sponge, from his media availability last Thursday. He said they've done research on the food that he eats that causes inflammation in his body in an effort to prevent future injuries. And also, he said he's lost 12 pounds of fat and added 15 pounds of muscle. So, look, it is, as you said, we talked about it a lot. A make or break episode, like the last one we did together, Devin Moore's name was one of the top of make or break because of all the injury concern. And now here we are in probably a money year for him. I mean, I think if he can stay healthy, he's probably going to make himself a lot of NFL money this year if he can go play 12, 13, hopefully 14, 15, 16 games for Florida. However many we got. But, losing 12 pounds of fat, adding 15 pounds of muscles, doing the research to, hey, all right, maybe this food, this diet's not doing it for me. Let's find every little nook and cranny that can help me stay on the field.
Yeah, what I didn't dive into the article. What did it say? What he was eating? There was inflaming.
No, that wasn't even from an article. That was just some of the quick sound bites that people were putting together from the media availability. So I have to find out what exactly he was eating and what he's changed on that diet. That's pretty interesting because he said, I'm excited just being able to go out there and prepare and practice and use the confidence no matter who I go against.
Right.
That's definitely excitement to me, and just being a competitor. At the end of the day, I think that's what it all comes down to. It's me versus you, and we're going to duke it out.
Yeah, no, like what's crazy is, again, that's one of those things, like there's so much science behind all this stuff. And, when you get to the pros and then guys who, you take care of your body and you really dive into some of that, stuff to where, the rehab and the preparation that you got to do that. So you'd be like, all right, what is causing this? And then you dive in and be like, okay, what I'm eating, something is not sitting right. I feel inflamed, like, so you lose, fat, you gain the muscle, so all it's wild. That's good stuff. And like I say, hopefully now that's going to, turn the corner for him to where he is going to stay on the field and be our true number one lockdown.
Yeah, and some of those injury things are fluke ones too. Like it's a
concussion,
no,
for sure.
A concussion that comes out of nowhere. Okay,
totally.
Well, your diet and losing fat and muscle, it has nothing to do with that. Sometimes you're just going to fall wrong, or somebody's going to hit you. So some of it's been bad luck. Some of it's just been hopefully this is what limits it, because it's just been a litany of a list of this injury, that injury, shoulder injury, concussion, all right, something else another week. So it's just been all right. Maybe if we can cut down on the other stuff, then there we go. All right. Let's go into another player I wanted to profile. He spoke last Thursday as well, and Gumbs Jr. Spoke to the media last week and revealed for this offseason Sponge that him, Cam James, and LJ McCray took up boxing for some off-season conditioning, an idea that came from former Gator and the edge position coach Mike Peterson. And Gumbs was asked how it's helping. He said, quote, any kind of fighting sport, you got to be in crazy shape. There's football shape, and then there's fighting shape. He goes, being an edge rusher, we do a lot with our hands. So just being able to see that and getting used to getting hands thrown at us, so how to evade that way better. It's getting us way more comfortable with that. And, of course, it's a workout. I believe the workout is more of like a mental aspect. It's a mental workout, but I'm saying being able to push yourself more. I found a new edge.
There you go.
I don't know if the pun was intended, but
right.
He said he found a new edge with this off-season conditioning and boxing. But Sponge, one reason I wanted to profile Gumbs, he spoke to the media for one, so we try to do that when we're heading into the season, whoever speaks. But it's such a polarizing player, and for me now, that this is a guy that's got to step up due to the decisions of moving on from Jack Pyburn and TJ Searcy.
Right.
This was a big staff decision to have Gumbs and those other two, and you decide to keep Gumbs, and those other two move on. And let's not forget, those were the two guys that this staff recruited out of high school.
Yeah.
Gumbs come in through the transfer portal, and he's the one that's sticking around. And we've heard his staff talk about relying, not so much on the portal so much, but sticking with guys that they've recruited through high school. Well, this one goes the other way. So Gumbs is in, Pyburn and Searcy, you're out. So to me, it's a move worth watching in that regard. More so making the right decision to stay with Gumbs no matter what those other guys do. It's hard to pay a spot. Three guys that think they deserve starter money in this college football world now.
Yep.
And it's about the staff being right about Gumbs. And to me, it doesn't matter if Pyburn or Searcy go on and do really well. Gumbs has got to do well. I mean, those guys could go play well, and hey, good for them. But for the decision Florida made and for this staff made, that means Gumbs has got to play at a high level as well. So, part of the move, the staff is liking LJ McCray and the potential of a Jaden Woods, so that goes a long way as well. But given the other guys transferring away and the decision to keep Gumbs, that needs to pay off. And I believe it will. From what we're hearing, this guy is just, Florida put out a video about an hour ago of the first practice yesterday, and he's talking to camera. He looks
in the swamp, baby.
Man, he looks like a prototype. He looks like a prototype football player.
No, he
does. I think it'll pay off. I think George Gumbs is going to be good. But I'm just saying, for the decision to move on from those other guys, it's got to pay off.
No, that's what we always talk about is in this day and age in college football is you can't pay everybody to play in one spot, keep them all happy. So when they all want what they want, you gotta almost decide and decipher which guy you think is going to be the best guy for you. And they obviously went with Gumbs, and watching him play down the stretch last year, I would probably say he was probably the best pass rush presence we had. And it looked like he was going to be just a freak and a monster. Sure, you want to keep everybody. Yeah, sure. I wish Pyburn and Searcy were still on the roster. But again, it's just not how it works anymore. So, good luck to those guys. Hopefully they do well. But like we said, Gumbs needs to do numbers to basically be like, we made the right decision on keeping him. And like I say, hopefully that is going to be the case. And like I say, he looks like a monster. Like you said, he looks like a beast. And, doing, like you say, boxing training is one of those things where, boxing workouts and like, when you watch those like, 24/7s where you're watching Floyd Mayweather and those guys, train, you're like, dude, that's not for the faint of heart trying to do that kind of type of training. On top of, what's great for those edge guys, and I'll take it to one of my guys who, I coached at Trinity, who went on to Auburn, Jeff Holland. He was one of the sack, gurus at Auburn at his time. I mean, he went by Sensei Mud because he did such like he got to the point where he was like so, karate like, jujitsu like with the hands, and like that was like a big, training point to where that hand-to-hand combat. Boxing is obviously a little bit different than karate and stuff, but like you got to be so fast and physical with your hands, to not let those offensive line, get onto you. And so that was one of the things that he really worked on in his craft, like, in his latter part when he was up at Auburn was literally, hand grappling, not letting this guy get on me. And he would do a, like, I know this is for the cameras and, for the TikToks and all that back in the day. He would do a session with one of those coaches where he's just going 90 miles an hour. And you're like, man, that looks pretty good. It looks good on, the short video. And, but like I say, you could tell he was crafting it and he was working on it. And, those are the little small edges, anything you could do, find it. Like Gum said, I've got a new edge now, and hopefully that's what it was. And like, it takes something out of these guys that just get that, squeeze that juice just a little bit, to find whatever you can to just get, again, 1-2% better every day. I said, just do that.
Stacking days.
That's it, baby.
We'll stay in the edge room for a quick second because we'll go to the freshman Jaden Woods too, who's turning heads. But last Thursday as well, Gums spent some time in the room talking about LJ McCray. He goes, LJ, he's had a crazy offseason. Seeing him from the weight room standpoint, here we go. He caught up to me in the power clean, and his body's making a transformation. So, there you go. The one player that a lot of people have circled and, taking that year 1 to year 2 step.
Yeah.
Living up to the 5-star billing. We talked about that, a couple weeks ago as well. But good to hear. George Gumbs already, even as a transfer, even only being in the program for now going into his second season, already seems like a leader. I mean, Billy Napier praised him last week as well in the press conference, saying, "Hey, guys like him, guys like Jacoby Jackson, look, they've seen the other side of it." And they've transferred in. They've put in the work. It's not easy for those guys, but they've put in the work and now have a lot of hype going into them with this season. But you hear George Gumbs kind of taking on this leadership role and talking up a guy like LJ McCray and can put somebody like him, even though, let's not forget, I mean, George Gumbs was playing wide receiver at one point in his previous stop, and here he is now, defensive end. I hope he does go on to have a good year, but and get some NFL draft stock behind him as well.
Yeah.
But now putting this room together, George Gumbs, LJ McCray, we'll get into Jaden Woods in just a second, but it does seem like, this off-season kind of, and that's what we're going to hear this time of year. The workouts
totally.
are better than they've ever been. But this is a kind of unique story here with the whole boxing thing, and then hearing the talk up of LJ McCray.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I say, that's definitely this off-season stuff. This is one of my favorite things. It's like, you get the weight room videos, you get the workout videos, and everybody's working out, man. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's getting, I saw Pie Burns. Did you see Pie Burns' video where he squatted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, everybody's, putting out videos of, I just squatted the house, check me out. This is the best off season. So kudos. Everybody's working, everybody's grinding. So now, what did you take from all that grinding and put into this season? And that's when you'll find out is, that work you did in the offseason, everybody's doing it. So now, what are you doing now in season to finally put it all together when you got to play games? So everybody's squatting, everybody's numbers, bench press, all that, all those numbers are going up, and you love to see it. So, but again, the one mantra you always say is that the one that we used to always live on is, did you outwork the guy working, sitting at home, or who did you outwork today? And how much of your competition did you outwork today? And, guess what? Everybody's working out. And if you want to be the best, the guy at the best is working out. So like, if Dallas Wilson wants to be Jeremiah Smith, is he working out better than Jeremiah Smith? Vice versa. So those are the things that, what do you take from that workout? What do you do extra? So you're doing your workout, which is what, mandatory wise. and then you're doing an extra thing by going to do boxing training and other things. Those are the things that, like, yeah, that might be able to give you that edge, or that might be able to give you that little bit better that that you outworked your competition for. So those are the things that show up in the fall on Saturdays, and we'll find out. We're gonna find out.
We're going to find out for sure. And hey, we might be finding out for some true freshmen. They ain't been in the weight room as long as these guys, but you know what? They're turning heads there, but turning heads on the field as well. Zach Campbell have already put out a report inside the war room out there on 3. It's a couple of days old, so all this stuff's been put out on social media and Twitter and all that stuff. So I'm not really stealing anything from Zach here. But 2 freshmen standing out: wide receiver Dallas Wilson and edge Jaden Woods. Let's just stay right here with Jaden Woods since we just talking about the edge spot. Look, he's picking up where he left off. Remember, he was a name Billy Napier singled out. Go back to early signing day. They're talking about all the new signees and all that, and Billy Napier said, he pretty much singled him out. Thought the guy was underrated, that he could be a special player. He did that in the spring and in the offseason. Billy Napier talking about Woods. So let's go back last week. We'll play a quick soundbite from our Independent Gator Media Day where I asked Jaden Woods about the praise he's received so far.
Jayden, your name came up a lot when Coach was talking about young freshmen that he's been impressed with so far. How was it like hearing that? And, of course, we didn't even play the game yet. But how does it feel being able to hear that? And what kind of work did you put in to kind of get noticed right away like that?
Yes, sir. I just came in and put my head down and went to work, just tried to do everything 100% the best I could. It's really it's an honor to hear that, but, I try not to let that linger in my head for too long, take it, appreciate it, and then just scrap it and keep working.
Well, Sponge, seems like he's keeping working. Yeah. So he's done that, putting his head down and working. Put that head down. Let's go. Started the spring game. Let's not remember that. Let's not forget that. Started the spring game at Edge for Florida. 250 pounds after a great offseason. And Zach Alberverdi has reported that he's getting reps with the ones. So possibly already the staff feeling that he can be, subbed in for George Gumbs and or LJ McCray and be a force there. Gumbs, going back to his media availability last week on Jaden Woods. So Gumbs said he had a lot of team records in the weight room at the outside linebacker position until Jaden Woods showed up. So already. And Gumbs asked who's going to be the surprise player on defense like him last season, and he says Jaden Woods. So, look, this isn't a transfer like Gumbs who's coming in and going to be that newcomer who's had some years of college football behind him and going to be the newcomer. No, he's talking it's going to be a true freshman who did the things that I did last year. Yeah. This is a true freshman coming in, turning head sponge. And it really does. It continues from spring. And we heard about all the work putting in. And we got to talk to him last week at the Independent Gator Media Day. He was the first one on arrival. He was the first one to show up. What you want in a player. For on and off the
A1, baby. A1.
On the field, off the field. We can get in trouble with expecting true freshmen to do a lot of things. Yeah. But the 2 we're about to talk about, and we'll start with Jaden Woods right here. I don't know if we're overhyping or not. It does seem like this guy's going to be on the field. And look, edge is a hard spot. Now, sometimes I guess you can pick your spots and hey, go get the quarterback. Yeah. But he might be a little further along than just that.
Yeah. No, I think just from hearing some of the reports and stuff I think he can be not just a guy who's be like, all right, just go get the quarterback on 3rd and long. And like I say, he's done everything that you want a player to do. He's got the right mindset. He's got the right attitude. Just listening to that soundbite you just pulled up is, all right, cool. I'm getting praised by the head coach. I'm getting praised by the coaches. I'm getting praised by my teammates, all that. I'll take that, pat on the back, cool, but I'm going to put my blinders on, go to work, put my head down, and, that's the right attitude to have, especially as a young guy. So when you do those things, good things are going to happen. And, like I say, he's going to work hard. So, he's going to put in that work to be the best on the field. So I think we're going to have – and that's, again, like you said, it's a hard line to draw when you say – are we pumping this guy up? Are we hyping him up too much? Are we hearing too much? He's a true freshman. And then, by game 3, 4, 5, you're like, well, Jaden Woods hadn't showed up at all. I ain't seen nothing from him. And that might happen, or it might be reversal. So it's one of those things of, again, going back to how we stated at the very beginning is you got to wait and see. You got to take that wait and see approach, and we're going to find out. But from all accounts and all accords to what this guy's done since he's been, on campus, is he's going to be that guy. So I'm truly looking forward to the expectation level is raised for him. Because when you got coaches and teammates, giving you that praise as well, that's where those guys are with you every day. They're not like us or a couple where you see a little bit and you hear. Those guys are with him. So when you're with them in the trenches and you see what he's doing, you kind of see the capability that he can have. So that's where the sky's the limit. And so that's big time that we've got some true freshmen that can make an impact early on in the season and be contributors and be just add more depth, add more layers to the squad.
Yeah, and you said it might even allow you to be a little bit more flexible. And
right.
With, like I said, he at some points maybe he's on the field at the same time as Gumbs.
Right.
And Sap, in third down situations.
Yeah, I was about to say, like you say, can you imagine a Sap, Caleb Banks, Gumbs, and Jaden Woods on the field at the same time?
I mean, if it's 3rd and 8, I know who I'm calling out there. I mean, it sounds like a good pass rush package to me. So
that's what I'm saying. So obviously the coaches ain't dumb, so they're going to be smart, and well, at least you hope they're not dumb. Sometimes we outthink ourselves as coaches for sure. I don't know what it is sometimes with. I'll lump myself in the coaches just be smart. Come on, you got put the best players on the field at the same time. It's like the Jags a couple years ago. Like, oh, let's not have Trayvon Walker on the field with Josh Hines Allen. Like what do you those guys should be on the field every rep. They can. Get your best package, and again. You gotta spare it when you're pass rush specialist. You gotta have a pass rush specialist package. So. Hopefully, the guys, are going to have the right players on the field. That's A1, number one. But, I feel confident in the staff on, having the best guys on the field. So if Jaden Woods has made these huge steps, like I say, I can't wait to see it take place. Yeah,
and look, it's something that's hopefully they learned their lesson last year. Because remember at the beginning of last year when there were so many rotations, there were so many players. Like it gives Miami and Texas A&M, it's like, why is that guy playing now? Why is this guy playing now? And it's just like, they were trying to figure too many things out along the way, or trying to make too many guys happy because of the transfer portal or whatever.
Right.
It's just like, no. And you can't afford it right now. I mean, granted, you don't have Miami to open up with or anything, but this thing needs to be ready to go right away. When you go to Baton Rouge, you got Miami game 4. Like these lineups need to be figured out. There needs to be no guessing game.
Totally. What did Gumbs call him? And you see Zach's article? He called him Michael Myers.
Oh yeah,
he's scary, man. He's silent. He's silent and scary. So hey,
but I enjoyed meeting him last week. Jaden Woods, I'm telling you, is a good kid. And that's one thing I know. It's all about wins and losses. It's all about wins and losses for me. But and I've said this before. I'll say it again. Big credit to Billy Napier and this staff. There's a lot of good kids in that locker room.
Yeah, good guys for sure.
I mean, I've gotten to hang out with them because, Access and stuff and Collective and Florida Victorious, all that stuff. I've gotten to hang around the players a lot more than we get used to in the past. There's a lot of good people in that building. Man. And that's one reason I hope it works out. I hope it works out.
Yeah.
One last player we'll talk about, Dallas Wilson, also getting first team reps. And no, if it's really, I'm not shocked by any means.
Not at all.
But apparently getting reps at that X spot. And a lot of players were talking about Dallas Wilson last week, Sponge. Go back to last Thursday's media availability. Here's what teammates had to say about Dallas Wilson. Let's go to Devin Moore. Quote, he's definitely a unique receiver. I like to tease him and talk a little smack. He motivates me. I motivate him. George Gumbs Jr. says on who's standing out on offense, Dallas Wilson. Dallas Wilson. He can play. George Gumbs Jr. loves him some freshmen now.
Right, yeah.
And Hayden Henson says he's given us no doubt that he's going to be who he says he's going to be. I'm really excited for him, says Hayden Henson about wide receiver Dallas Wilson. Of course, everybody remembers that big spring game that he had, but that just kind of continued all the talk about him throughout spring practice and those freshman receivers, the other guys as well.
Yeah.
But he was the one who had the biggest show out for the spring game. And look, the report says, if there's 3 wide receivers, if Wilson's at the X, what does that mean for the other spots here? So according to that report from Zach Aberverde, J. Michael Sturdivant would move over to the slot if Dallas Wilson's on the field. He'd move to the slot to the H position, so cross training at the H spot, at the X spot. And the other spot is Trey Wilson's, and he's moving around as well at the Z and the H positions, much like we saw Chimere Dike last season. So
Right.
this really is nothing new as a staff. They do a ton of cross training at the wide receiver spots. But Dallas Wilson, man, just get some outside reps. He's mostly concentrating on the outside, but that's a good combo here. And then Sturdivant, moving him inside at 6'3", 213. That's a size and a speed that's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
Devin Moore said last week, he's got that bigger build, and I don't know if you guys know, but in high school he also ran a 10.3 in track. He talks about J. Michael Sturdivant, so he's got a lot of speed too. Don't let the size fool you. This complements his game. So Florida's got some versatile receivers. We've all liked this group that they've had. Dallas Wilson, I don't know if he starts right away, but it certainly seems like, all right, well, he's going to get some runs with the one. He may not be out there rep one, game one, but he's at some point going to be in with DJ Lagway and Trey Wilson and J. Michael Sturdivant as the other two receivers out there. Sponge going to it. We'll go back to make and break again. What does this mean for somebody like Aiden Mizell?
Exactly. That's what's funny is we had that conversation, and I even had some buddies who watched that episode and talked to me. And they were on the question on the fence with Mizell, and I was like, I agree. I'm on the fence with Mizell. You're on the fence with Mizell. A lot of people are. But what I did say was, if Dallas Wilson is the guy, Billy G is going to play Dallas Wilson. Billy Napier is going to play Dallas Wilson. So my thing is, if Dallas Wilson is that Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, phenom freshman, you got to have him on the field. He's going to be on the field. And then that just complements Trey and Sturdivant, because I think Trey and Sturdivant, man, they look good right now too. Just what they've done in the offseason, like we just said, 6'3" for, Sturdivant, and can run the 10-3. We know what Trey and Eugene can do when he's 100% healthy, and the type of plays he can make. So, and what he's done in the offseason as well, like the way he looks, physically compacted, he looks like a beast too. So now you're saying, okay, what does Dallas Wilson look like? Is he the guy? Is Mizell then bumped out and bumped down to that fourth receiver? Where does he fit in? And it's again, going back, guess what? I love it. Give me that competition.
Yeah.
Give me the more weapons. Give me that, flexibility. Like you say, cross training. That's one of the things as a receiver coach. Yeah, I want all my guys to really be able to play all the spots. I want them to know the route tree, where they need to go. If one guy goes down and I like him better at this spot, I can move him. So it's not just some random thing in the game where you're like, all right, I don't really run corner routes. I don't, and then you're running bad routes, got bad spacing, all that stuff. You want to be able to know where to be at all times. You want all those guys to be able to play multiple positions so that you can kind of be flexible and say, all right, we can move this guy around here. We can put him here. We'll put Trey in the slot. We'll put Trey outside. Well, this is going to be my gadget guy, all that stuff. So I love the way this receiver room is shaping up because, again, I love VB3 and I love Montgomery, the way he's looking. There's some other guys, Hawkins, that room is filled right now with full of potential. So
in the video that was just released, I was talking about an hour before, there was Tank Hawkins making plays.
Yeah, exactly. VB3 had a touchdown on one of those. So again, that's where you got to play the best guy. And, so if these guys are coming in physically imposing, looking like dudes like a Jeremiah Smith and a Ryan Williams, I'll keep using those two because those were the guys that everybody leaned on last year. It was Cam Coleman at Auburn. They just physically look different. And so they got to be on the field, So if Dallas Wilson, and here's the thing, we saw what he can do with Harrison Bailey throwing the ball, in spring. So give me Dallas Wilson with DJ Lagway. Let's go. So I love the components of everything that's coming to shape, everything that's coming to form. Our biggest hiccup and question mark was Stu going to be throwing balls, and so we talked about it at the very off rip, the first minute. He's throwing footballs right now, so eye in the sky, sunshine pump, let's go. It's all about everything positive, we're 4 weeks away, 5 weeks away, whatever it is. So, Dallas Wilson, I think, is going to be that dude. And so I can't wait to watch it take place.
And with these two guys we just talked about, Jaden Woods, Dallas Wilson, if they're true freshmen, if they're getting reps with the ones, it's not like it's given to them. It's
Right.
not like a Jervon Dexter in 2020. Not saying he didn't earn it, but Florida had no help in the middle of
Right.
that defensive line. And there's Jervon Dexter as a true freshman having to play in probably one of the hardest spots to play in the SEC is right in the interior defensive line. But for Florida's deep at receiver. Or we think they're deep at receiver.
Yeah, right.
Florida's got options at edge. If these two guys are out there with the ones, and there's already guys that we feel pretty comfortable with anyway, they are impressive. They're putting the work in. That it's just not coming in and just because there's nobody else. Yeah. No, they're earning it because there's other guys that are playing just as good as them or at a high level, but you can't keep them off the field.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Competition breeds, hopefully excellence, and that's what you hope you're getting from here. But hearing these true freshmen at the positions that they're already getting 1 reps in, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I say, it does. What I talked about too earlier was like the good part is when you look at this roster construction and like what they've added, what they've brought in, who they retained. It's looking good in parts where in the past where we're like, man, we ain't got nothing behind this guy. The depth is not there. Like right now, going in, this is probably one of the best rosters we've had. Again, I said it earlier, it's in a while. And to where
we had a discussion on Gators Breakdown Plus about this today.
Yeah.
Best roster since when?
Oof.
I said 2020. That was
that was
coaching malpractice, not a talent deficiency.
Definitely 2020 because that was a loaded roster with Trask and all those receivers and stuff like that, and we had some pretty good defensive guys too.
Right.
But yeah,
it's just
so we're talking about 4 or 5 seasons, and that's a cycle. So that's basically when Dan checked out and we got Billy in, and I was thinking about it today. I'm like, everybody's been on Billy's case and all that, and they talk about he can recruit well and is a good people person, all that good stuff. Can he make those in-game coaching things? And that's been the biggest hang up. So it's again, what I've realized in coaching is it is about the Jimmies and Joes. And if you got dudes, your X's and O's, if you think you got good X's and O's, which everybody does, it's all about coming together, putting it all in that mixing pot, putting all the ingredients in, and then you get to find out. So that's why I think Billy is finally feeling a little confident. Maybe that's why he's feeling himself. Spot the ball. Let's go. Let's play some football. Like I've got a roster now. I've got some dudes. I know I can call some plays. So now it's put up or shut up time to find all that out. Everybody's on notice. So, and guess what? We're about to spot the ball. We're about to kick it off. We're about to do all those things. So it's coming. So we're going to find out, where the rubber meets the road, who's been putting in the work, who hasn't, is, who's feeling confident, who's not. And that's the great part about football, man. It's everybody feels the same way. Everybody's team. If you listen to a Texas podcast right now, Texas Arch Manning's baby, he's throwing it darts, he's throwing dimes out there, so
it's still talking season.
Exactly. So that's what you do until you get it out there and you actually can critique and criticize what's going right and what's going wrong.
Suppose one more thing. This will be a fun exercise to end it.
Yeah.
All right, Dallas Wilson, true freshman.
All right.
Okay. It might be lofty, but what do we want out of him? Now, 2 true freshmen I'm going to bring up. Percy Harvin, in a good freshman season. You kind of saw it. Antonio Callaway.
What was Callaway's numbers his freshman year?
Let's go.
Do you have 1,000?
Let's go.
I think he had a lot.
Some with Will Greer, some with not.
Yeah, Callaway did have a good freshman year. I remember.
Yeah, really good freshman season. 14 games, 35 receptions, so not a crazy number of receptions.
Right.
678 yards, so it's 19.4 yards a reception.
Okay.
4 touchdowns. But
it was probably his second year he really broke out too. But no, he had a good good freshman year.
Yeah, good freshman year, right? Exactly. 54 receptions in 2 less games in 2016. And remember, 2016. So Luke Del Rio,
Good God.
right? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right.
But like I said, in his freshman season, 19.4 yards of reception. In 2016, he went down to 13.4. So he was big play. You know, he was big play guy his freshman season. Can we get that?
Yeah.
I'll take it because 35 receptions. Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
But at 19 and with Lagway's arm now.
Yeah.
I mean, this was, like I said, this was with Will Greer, who honestly doesn't have the biggest arm in the world.
Yeah.
And then you go down to after he gets out, you know, and then Treon Harris.
Yeah.
Wait, was Treon a quarterback in 16 as well? Then did I talk myself?
I think he was because
Yeah,
I know that they played together.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
Like I say,
that's with very limited quarterback.
yeah,
And we all knew that about Callaway. You give him a better quarterback, he probably would have been all world.
right. No, that was rough when you were like, man, talking those quarterbacks, man. I remember and we felt good too in some of those spots.
But
I remember that LSU game. He had a big LSU game where he had some
Yeah.
big deep balls. But yeah, it's like anything. Put it this way: if I'm to peg it, 600 plus yards, you know, seven-ish touchdowns. I mean, that'd be a nice year. I mean, like I said, you can't compare it to I just looked at Jeremiah's numbers.
Yeah. So Treon would have been 2015. He was not there in 16. So
Okay.
it would have been Luke Del Rio. Okay.
Yeah, Del Rio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I looked at Jeremiah's. Did you see what Jeremiah's numbers were last year?
Not off the top of my head.
He was basically the fourth receiver in the country. 76 catches for 13, 15, and 15 touchdowns. Yeah, like I say, I'm not expecting
half of that, and I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, here you go. This would be a realistic comparison with because everybody always likes to throw Ryan Williams in with he's only 17. He's only blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, sorry, Jeremiah was on another level more so than Ryan Williams.
Ryan had 48 catches for 865 and 8 touchdowns.
Okay, so there you go.
What's crazy is when you really think about it, everybody gave Ryan Williams a lot of. I think it was because of that Georgia Bama game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith's on another stratosphere. Yeah, so like that, if he gives you even, I wouldn't say half, but yeah, if you take 50, he had 50 catches, 865. So if you trim it down, 10 catches, 100 something yards, and he gives you 8 touchdowns, so like 7-8 touchdowns, no, that'd be huge for sure. And he was Bama's leading receiver last year,
right?
And so like.
That's true. I mean, you got to Trey Wilson, and
I was about to say that's where it's going to be tough.
Jay Michael, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's not. Again, this goes back to where there's just not enough balls to go around. So, if he could have that Callaway numbers, I'll take that all day.
All right, here's another thing.
Give me Callaway's numbers.
Yeah.
Give me.
Now we're going down a rabbit hole. Oh Jesus Christ! Why is his name escaping me? Bama's quarterback last year.
Jalen Milroe.
Jalen Milroe. Yeah, Jesus, right. All right. How many attempts did he have a game?
Yeah, that's.
And do we think Lagway will throw that much?
I would say yes.
He had 319. Yeah, 319 for the year. I don't know. That'd be close.
I think DJ will have that. Yeah, because
I mean, that was 25 attempts a game.
Yeah,
25 attempts a game. Yeah,
yeah. Because you got to think that would be about a good average because again,
with this run game.
I was about to say when we look at what Billy really wants to do and the offensive line and how we think that we're going to have one of the better running attacks. Yeah, you're going to think we're going to lean on the run, but we're going to have the big play potential. We'll probably throw it anywhere between 18 to 25 times, 18 to 30, in that range. If you go 20 to 30, give or take a little here or there. That's about what I think the average could be. And again, what end up may happen is the passing game just might, start stepping up to where it becomes even more effective, and then you throw it a little more. Like I said, it all depends on your game plan, and all that comes into play and changes. But if you're a rough guesstimation, I would 25 is a good number.
Yeah, and that can get you some Ryan Williams numbers. So.
Yeah, that would be, again, because if we think that Trey's going to have a big year, and you think Sturdivant's going to have a pretty solid year, you go back to those two guys in DK and Badger last year. They both had really good seasons. So, I mean, you got to expect, now you're going to be sprinkling in three guys instead of the two, Yep. Like I say, it'll be fun to see it play out. And, I think, put it this way, I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
I think we're in a good spot.
Well, that's
for sure.
I see the comments in there. It's about the play calling. It's about the coach. We think the talent's there. And we'll see what the sidelines do.
Yeah, and like I say, I think we used to always be like Billy needs an OC. Billy, and here's the thing. I think part of it is coaches, like you say, we're hard headed. There's ego involved. You think that you can dial up stuff, and it's going back to like Mullen. We'd be like, man, Mullen's in his bag, baby. He's dialing up everything. He's running wheel routes all day on Kirby. Whatever. But like, sometimes you got to have the right personnel to really truly show what you can call and what you can do. And so when you have a guy like Lagway who gives you like that multiple thing, and again, we talked about this when we first found out that he was hurt. We're like, dang, it's like another like lower body leg injury to where like part of his game is running. Yeah. And that him running, and that's, it takes you back to like the Vince Young days of like, pick your poison right here. You want to come up and like try to stop this run? We're going to throw it over the top. And then, you start backing out and try to like, stop those deep balls downfield. Then we're going to gash you. And so it's like truly pick your poison. What are you going to do? And like, so when you're limited, even in that capacity of saying, well, he's just a pocket passer. We know he could throw it. We know he could do it. But like, man, sprinkle that element into the pot, and like now you can really call some stuff. So yeah. I'm gonna give my confidence in Billy dialing some stuff up this year, but again, it's all like we've been saying. Let's find out. We're gonna find out. So. And then 6-7 weeks from now, we'll be like, Billy sucks. He can't call plays. So that's what we'll be saying. Or we'll be like, hey, Billy's dialing it up. He's calling some plays. He's got the players. He's got the personnel. Yeah. We can do some stuff. So again, that's the fun part about it. We could talk about it till we're blue in the face, and you just gotta wait and see, and we'll all find out.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I forgot to do this. I meant to do it at the beginning of the episode, but I gotta put the new shirt out there. Move back, move back. You suck.
You suck.
I got the new merch. So gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. Everybody, I meant to do this earlier in the episode. I shared it on Twitter already, so it's been out there. It's been selling pretty good. It's been selling pretty good. So
I like that.
Yeah, there we go. Dun, 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 dun. Man. I'm ready.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm telling you, man. Like I say, it's when you get to this point now, it's just like, all right, let's just hammer out these next couple of weeks, and we'll watch some camp results. Watch a little bit of preseason NFL ball, and then high school will kick off, and then we'll be ready to rock on Saturdays. Man, that first weekend, dude, I'm talking about a fully loaded slate, man. It's some.
I know, man.
From Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Yeah,
let me. While we wrap up here, media availability this week. Billy Napier will speak to the media on Monday, so we'll have some
tomorrow.
We'll have some sound from the head coach there. Players will talk. Some players will talk on Wednesday, and then some more players will talk on Friday. So there we go. There's your media outlook for the week there. See, there is a practice on Tuesday, so there is a brief open period for some viewing. So hopefully some more Lagway video from coming out Tuesday. And then Thursday is a practice viewing period as well. So there we go.
Yeah. It's like I say, it's here, man. We're just talking.
Yep.
We just talking.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Talking practice, man. We're talking practice, man.
About 4 weeks. 4 weeks. All right, Sponge. Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, good chat, my brother.
Yep. We'll do it again pretty soon. All right, everybody, for Sponge, Andrew Franklin, right here on Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for checking us out on this episode of Gators Breakdown.